On the night of July 22, 1991, police officers walked into a small apartment in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and discovered something so horrifying it would shock the entire world. Inside the apartment were human skulls, photographs of victims, and a large blue drum filled with acid. Hidden in drawers and closets were body parts. The man who lived there calmly admitted the truth. His name was Jeffrey Dahmer, and what investigators uncovered would reveal one of the most disturbing crime stories in modern history. Jeffrey Dahmer was born on May 21, 1960, in Milwaukee, in the U.S. state of Wisconsin. From the outside, his early life seemed fairly ordinary. His father, Lionel Dahmer, was a chemist. His mother, Joyce Dahmer, struggled with mental health and prescription drugs. Their marriage was unstable, and arguments were common in the home. Jeffrey was a quiet child who often kept to himself. As he grew older, classmates noticed strange behavior. He sometimes performed odd pranks at school and seemed emotionally detached from others. But one of his earliest disturbing interests appeared long before anyone realized the danger. He became fascinated with dead animals. According to later interviews, Dahmer collected roadkill, dissected animal bodies, and kept the bones. His father once showed him how to clean animal bones with chemicals, believing it was harmless curiosity about science. Instead, that fascination slowly evolved into something darker. By the time Dahmer was a teenager, his life had begun to unravel. His parents divorced when he was still in high school, leaving him largely alone in the family home. It was during this time, in 1978, that Dahmer committed his first murder. The victim was an 18-year-old hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks. Dahmer picked him up while driving near his home in Bath Township, Ohio. The two spent some time drinking and talking, but when Hicks tried to leave, Dahmer panicked. He struck him with a weightlifting bar. That moment changed everything. After killing Hicks, Dahmer dismembered the body and disposed of the remains in the woods. For nearly a decade afterward, he committed no known murders, but his life spiraled further out of control. He drank heavily. He dropped out of college. He briefly served in the military, but was discharged due to alcohol abuse. For years, Dahmer drifted from job to job, struggling with loneliness and dark fantasies he felt unable to control. Then, in 1987, the killings began again. This time, they happened in Milwaukee. Dahmer targeted young men, often meeting them in bars, shopping malls, or on the street. He would offer them money to come back to his apartment for photographs or drinks. Once there, he drugged them. When the victims lost consciousness, Dahmer killed them. But what made the crimes especially horrifying was what happened afterward. Investigators later learned that Dahmer kept body parts as souvenirs. He photographed victims, preserved skulls, and stored remains inside his apartment. He believed that by keeping parts of his victims, he could somehow prevent them from leaving him. Between 1987 and 1991, Dahmer murdered 17 young men and boys. Many of the victims were from vulnerable communities, and several disappearances initially received little attention. At one point, the warning signs were dangerously close to being discovered. In May 1991, a 14-year-old boy named Konorak Synthesumphone escaped from Dahmer's apartment and was found wandering outside, injured and disoriented. Neighbors called the police, but Dahmer convinced officers that the boy was his adult partner who had simply drunk too much. Despite protests from nearby witnesses, police returned the boy to Dahmer's apartment. Within hours, Dahmer killed him. It would later become one of the most tragic and controversial failures in the case. Just 2 months later, everything finally unraveled. On July 22, 1991, A man named Tracy Edwards managed to escape from Dahmer's apartment while still wearing one handcuff. Edwards ran down the street and flagged down police officers. When the officers entered Dahmer's apartment to investigate, one of them opened a drawer and found photographs showing dismembered bodies. Moments later, the truth began to emerge. Officers searched the apartment and found human skulls, severed heads in the refrigerator, preserved organs, and the large acid drum containing decomposing remains. The quiet apartment had become the center of one of the most shocking crime scenes in American history. Dahmer was arrested that night without resistance. During interrogation, he confessed in chilling detail to the murders. Over time, investigators connected him to 17 victims. The case stunned the nation. In 1992, Dahmer went on trial in Wisconsin. His defense argued that he was legally insane, claiming he could not control his compulsions. But the jury disagreed. Jeffrey Dahmer was found guilty and sentenced to 15 consecutive life sentences. He was sent to the Columbia Correctional Institution. Yet the story did not end there. On November 28, 1994, just 2 years into his sentence, Dahmer was attacked by another inmate, Christopher Scarver, while working in a prison gym. Scarver beat Dahmer to death with a metal bar. He was 34 years old. Even decades later, the crimes of Jeffrey Dahmer continue to raise disturbing questions. How could someone live among neighbors, co-workers, and strangers while hiding such unimaginable acts? And how did warning signs appear again and again, yet go unnoticed or ignored? The story of the Milwaukee Monster is not only about one man's darkness. It is also a reminder of the importance of listening, paying attention, and taking warnings seriously before tragedy has the chance to grow in silence. Because sometimes the most terrifying stories are not the ones that happen in secret, but the ones that happen right next door.